We'll just get started with Matt and Susan here to hear what they have to share. An amazing journey here with Nature is Alive. Nature is Alive. I'm going to hand it over to them.
Well, nice to see you again, Susan. I think we last talked, was it in November, December, or sometime this fall, when at the International Herb Symposium that you put on, and I took a class there, and it was like, oh my God, there was, I don't know, 100, 200 people or something. And that was really one of the most stimulating, interesting classes. It was the most interesting class that I've taught on the extracellular matrix, really, which is the subject of my book there, because it was all herbalists talking to each other and like having great ideas about what you can do now that we know about the matrix. Yes.
Yeah.
And so I really recommend, that's a class I recommend. I'm sure there's other ones in that at that conference too. Yeah. So, and then you and I have taught together. I think we have some free classes on UPS on our institute also, and you have all sorts of things available as well. So yeah, so it's really fun to connect again. And I'm here. I'm actually in Madison, Wisconsin, in front, staring out at the lake. Where are you at?
I am in Brooklyn, New York.
Oh,
So if you hear some planes flying over, I'm in like a little backyard urban setting. And yeah, so it's a little intense to be in New York on Earth Day, but also inspiring to be around such diverse people and food. And so yeah, I'm visiting a friend.
Well, I will be in Manhattan by tomorrow night.
Somebody quoted, "I am going to fish tonight." I saw that in the chat. So I don't know who put that in the chat, but anyway, so yeah, so I'm in Brooklyn, which is very unusual for me.
I was in Brooklyn last week. Golly, I had a week off in between, and then I'm back again. And I was teaching at the Arbor Vitae School.
Oh, so we like just missed each other. Yeah.
I'll be back again. I'll be in town for one day. I'm not really planning on going anywhere. Although there was an antiquarian book show that I.
Oh no.
Yeah. So, but right now I am in Madison, Wisconsin, which is a dear place to me. And this is where my mentor, Francis Hull, came from. And we do have a picture of him. And a few people, older types from Madison, would know his name. He was a soil science professor here. And he initiated, yes, that's him. He would sing songs of the soil. And that's actually my mom in the background. That's why I have that photo. My dad probably took it in the blue there. This is 20 years ago. My mom's hair would be white now, but that's at a Northern Half Yearly Quaker meeting there. And so that's how I met Francis when I was about 10 or 11. He taught me that nature is alive as an inner experience. So we were having Northern Half Yearly meeting. That's the northern fringe of Quakers up in the upper Midwest would get together every half year. And we would and decide things or just have fun, get together. And that year it was in Wausau, Wisconsin. And we went by train. I remember that there was still a train, pre-Amtrak, whatever, going to Wausau. And I remember how exciting it was getting on the train and the steam. It was in the fall, I think, and the steam coming off the train and getting on with my friends and my friend's mom. And we went all the way to Wausau. And then we had Northern Half Yearly meeting in the Wausau Historical Society, which is an old Victorian mansion in the town there. And it's under Rib Mountain, which counts as a mountain here in Wisconsin, which is 1,800 feet high.
It used to be bigger.
It used to be bigger, right? It's a volcano that's, as Francis explained, he is a soil scientist, that it pressed up the earth and it created Wisconsin, basically. All of Wisconsin, over to Minneapolis, in fact. It's all you can see. So over in Minneapolis, it's like limestone, then sandstone, and then there must be basalt hanging in here somewhere and then finally the basalt, and that's Rib Mountain. So it's an invisible underground mountain. He explained all this. I was just fascinated. He was a soil science professor here at the University of Wisconsin-Madison. and it was a beautiful, beautiful day in fall. I still remember the red oak leaves hanging on the red oaks. I was back a couple of years ago, and sure enough, the red oaks are all being taken over by the sugar maple, but succession forest, but they're still there. And I was right. I remembered that, 50 years back. And and Francis was just filled with joy, it seemed like, and he just was jumping from rock to rock. And after a while, this feeling came out of him: nature is alive, nature is alive. And I knew it was true. I knew it was like an inner experience. In fact, Quakerism, they always emphasize the inner spirit, inner voice. And it was like, wow, this is like the real Quaker thing. Nature is alive. Nature is alive. And I knew it was true. And I also knew I had to believe, or I would never experience the spiritual truth again, because that's what it was, because you have to believe in it. You can experience it, but you have to believe in it. And so having to believe, and leap of faith. Yes, leap of faith. And so from that, I knew nature is alive. Nature is a female being, by the way, I knew at that time. And over the next couple of years, and another thing, I knew that you could not, it's like the first law of empaths. No, don't hurt the other person, because you will be hurt back in return. And that's that level. It's the soul world, or the soul of nature, the soul of the planet. And on that level, everything is, we are related, we are all related, and whatever you do will come back onto you. So that was what I learned that day, and that added over the next couple. I was about 10 or 11 then. And I do believe, talking to my friend Susan, she had this same experience when she was about 10. She was jumping down the back steps at her parents' house and jumping, and she just felt joy. And she saw a squirrel on the sidewalk, and she said, and she all of a sudden she realized, oh, nature is alive. Wow. If nature is really alive, then that squirrel is not going to be afraid of me. It's going to allow me to walk right up to it, and it will not be afraid of me. And she walked right up to it, and she had to walk around it to go down the sidewalk. It was not afraid of her. So she said, I'm a tester. So I had to test everything. But that's how she established, she believed in it for sure. We both kind of conclude this is a natural experience for pre-adolescence, perhaps. Like when you're young, age 7 to 11, 12, 13, your soul is developing, or your sense of yourself and your inner, and then maybe you could connect with the whole soul world. That's what happened there. So it was about 20 years later, I had to go to Madison, and I hadn't been there yet. And, but as a kid, and I visited Francis at his house near the Yahara River, which I'm close to right now, on the isthmus of Madison, for those of you who know the city. And I visited him, and I thanked him. Yeah. And I thanked him for teaching me all that. And I said, and he said, yes, that was a beautiful day. And it was like, yes, it was really a beautiful day. But he didn't take credit. He didn't say, oh, yes, and I taught you, he was more modest. And he said, and I told him how I taught herbalism and practiced herbalism, and that was a vehicle for helping teach that nature is alive. Nature is alive. And that was my real kind of hidden motif. And he sat back and he said, you have chosen well. People crave that experience, to know that nature is alive, and they can't get it, and they want it. So you will always be in demand. And I was sitting there kind of stunned, kind of like, wow, nobody but a Quaker elder would tell you that you made a good decision to become an herbalist and teach that nature is alive. So, but that was wonderful. And so Francis passed on, I don't know, 10 years ago, maybe. And there is a website, and I remember. So I'll tell some Francis stories after a while. Maybe we'll hear from Susan what your experience of nature as a living being. It's going to be quite a difference, or maybe similar. I don't know. So, and we're interested in feedback from people on chat line too. So, yeah.
Yeah, I love that story. I grew up in an area that was, somewhat wooded, and in Prince William County, outside of Washington, D.C. And I had this patch of pink lady slippers that grew in the woods. I really didn't know as a child that much about them, but I just have these incredibly vivid memories of communicating with them. And that has been, I think, like a spark and a guiding experience that has, always grounded me in this deep belief of plants as ancestors, and then to kind of have all these experiences in my life, meeting and spending time with people from indigenous communities around the world, and having moments where they reiterate not just the plants, but also the rocks are seen as like, living ancestors. So then, to sort of embrace that idea of animism, the earth as a living entity, and then within that, these ancestral beings that we interact with on a daily basis, right? So, I couldn't be there today, but several different communities within California and the California Native Plant Society are releasing Saging the World. It's like a 25-minute movie about what's going on with white sage, not just in California, but in Mexico. And it's really beautifully well done. I can't wait till we can share it with a broader audience. So stay tuned on that. But in that video, talking with different indigenous communities within California, they just reiterate how plants to them are ancestral beings. So, yeah, I love this topic.
Yes. Full of nature, the living that's behind it, that we don't always, we're always talking, but we don't always give our sponsor total credit.
Right. And then, Rosemary, whenever she brings people together, she really starts with that element, and not just, that aspect of communicating with the plants through singing, right? And like letting them know, we're here, we care, we feel you, we're part of you, so.
Yes. Yeah. And if people haven't noticed, herbalists are all the older herbalists look very young. I mean, nobody'd guess I'm 67, I don't think, especially if I dyed my hair or anything. But this goes on and on, herbalist after herbalist. Maybe a few of us are really worn out. It's a difficult niche to fill, but so many herbalists look really younger than they actually are. And my friend Judy Liebland, who's taught a class or two with us on the Institute, but she's from the Gathering Time Herb Store in Marin, but she pointed this out. She says she thinks it's the greening power, the green power that Saint Hildegard von Bingen talks about. I don't know why else and how else it could be. And people, gardeners and people work with plants. I think just having the plants run through your fingers on a constant basis is renewing on a physical as well as spiritual level. So. And they love us, so maybe they're trying to keep us healthy, so we'll last longer and teach their gospel.
I also think it's really wearing.
My friend here. Yeah.
I also think it's really wearing to feel alone.
Yeah.
And so when you feel like you're a part of a community and a plant community, it does lighten the load, and it does bring a lot of joy to your life.
Oh, yeah. So Anne here, you got to sit closer maybe. So she's saying that being a part of that greater community, well, we all know how much we love being a part of the herbal tribe. So many of us, it's our family. It's really remarkable. And many of us don't have a real non-biological family community outside of that. And so she's also saying then to join the plant community, you're never alone. You're always really feeling, and sometimes they really do talk to you and stuff. So that's really
tell good
great.
Jokes.
They tell good jokes. Yeah. Occasionally. Yeah. They do say funny things once in a while. Yeah. Yeah. So another thing that Madison brings up. So Francis, many, many years ago, he told this story how for years, he came before the legislature. Madison is the capital of Wisconsin. And to me, it's like coming to Trantor at the center, like the Federation Galaxy headquarters at the headquarters of the whole galaxy of Wisconsin here. But he would go to the state legislature, and year after year, he tried to get a Wisconsin state soil. And they were like, who's this crazy old man? Who's this crazy old man? And then Earth Day came, the first Earth Day, and they were like, what was that guy? Who was that guy who was trying to get a soil for a Wisconsin state soil? So they passed the bill, and so Antigo is the Wisconsin state. Antigo silt loam is the Wisconsin state soil. And Francis, furthermore, he continued to rub soil into the consciousness of Wisconsinites. He wrote various songs of the soil, and there's even an Antigo silt loam song. I forgot it. I have to say, I had a T-shirt that had it on it. There was T-shirts. My mom brought a T-shirt. It was from Science Teachers of America or something at their conference in southern Minnesota or something. They had a Antigo silt loam T-shirt. So what can we say? So if you're crazy and you persevere, then somebody will pick up on it at some time in the future.
Nice. We have a really great question from somebody that says, what are some plants you've each grown to feel really related to? And how did your relationship begin? Did it stem from the plant's physical looks and personalities? Did it start from your spirit voice inside of you? From intrigue or what you read, or what you read the plant can provide for us medicinally? Do you want to go out first?
Yeah. So, I mean, because it's a strange segue, because remember what I said, I could tell that those were red oaks. I didn't know the name. I didn't know what a red oak was when I was 10 or 11, but by age 17, 18, I did. And in my memory though, I knew that they were red oaks, so then, but my favorite plant of all is the bur oak, which is, of course, a cousin. It's in the white oak division of the oaks, but I just love the bur oak. It's very characteristic here of the Midwest. It grows, you'd find it on the east, actually on the shores of Lake Champlain. There's some oak savannas there, then Mohawk River Valley, and then into the Midwest, all the old prairies in the middles of those states away from the river valleys. And then on up into Winnipeg and down into Oklahoma and out in even as far as Idaho. There's a few scattered, like the Black Hills. There's still bur oak, and so I just love that tree, and it kind of speaks. It speaks to me the integrity. I've got like Saturn on my ascendant, so it's like that integrity, kind of Saturnian type energy, and. So when I was a freshman, and also it was the first one I energetically understood a tree. Oh, this is Saturn. I see. Oh, okay. Like astrological, thinking. And so in my class in college, old Dr. Lawrence, who was a wonderful character, just like Dr. Francis Hull, Dr. Lawrence, I was in a class field botany, and we had to do a report on one plant, and mine was bur oak, and I repeated things he taught me, but the bur oak, it grows it's very conservative, and it's slow growing, and it grows, and it keeps on getting burned by the prairie fires, and finally it becomes a savanna tree. If there's 13 years with no fires, then it grows, one of those 13-year things. And then underground, it's like the roots are bigger than the top is only that big, and the roots are twice as big. And so there's just many things about a conservative kind of gathering up, being careful and slow. And so at the end so in those days, I really didn't know how to talk, because I had to learn astrology better and to be able to describe energy patterns to people and how I thought and stuff. But so I couldn't speak very well. So he said, well, that wasn't a great oral presentation. You got a B for that, but you really understand the essence of this plant. And he gave me an A minus. And so I got an A for that class, but I was kind of flabbergasted, wow, you got what I'm talking about, that this is the essence of the tree we're talking about here. Yeah. So that's just how I visualize it. Yeah. Some of those big, just, yeah. So yes, like that. And very much a tree of this region here. Yeah, those acorns are a little different from what's in my neighborhood. Yeah, and that craggy look in that central one there in the second row. Yeah, that one. So that's my favorite tree. And I'm using oak right now. And actually it is a bur oak just for tooth decay. It's very good for the teeth and remineralizes and good for the dentin. And and it's good. It's the ultimate astringent. So everything has an effect on the physical, mental, emotional, and spiritual levels. Like on the physical level, it's a tremendous astringent. And mineralizer. So it brings the tone back into the tissues. And then on the mental, emotional level, Dr. Bach taught us it's a remedy for people who fight on against adversity, never give up, but never succeed. And I've had some case histories like that. And then my friend Susan, when she needed it, she got bucked off a horse and the veins were really big, like really expanded and big and like just bruised in a way. And so she needed that astringent to tighten them up. And she said, "Oh, I see. This remedy helps you know the battles you can win." Because that was a horse you couldn't win. It would never let you. She eventually realized it had back trouble. So it bucked her off. But so there's battles you can't win. You can't waste your time on that. So that's the spiritual level, the mental, emotional, fight on against adversity, never give up. And the physical level, deep dilapidation, the mighty oak is broken down of the tissue. So that's just one herb. I won't do two because that was a great question. How about you, Susan? Yeah. Oh, you're muted, I think. Yeah.
For me, growing up, I just really struggled with asthma and, just lungs. And so, certainly bonding with Usnea was really powerful for me. And later kind of getting to meet OSHA and really connecting with those plants that kind of open up and help you breathe. I think, I don't know, it's, I'm more of the, plant ecologist, but I guess that maybe the lungs are where we hold, grief, I think to some extent. I don't, but that's been my kind of portal with plants and a healing capacity. And certainly, I don't know. I mean, I think my first loves were garlic and ginger.
Garlic mustard.
and lots of garlic mustard on my property in Virginia. So somebody has a really great question about struggled with how your relationship with nature or a specific plant you can feel mutually beneficial. For example, the nettles in my yard do a lot for me, but what am I doing for them in return? I guess that, element of reciprocity or that relationship. I mean, I sort of, I feel like just letting plants be and do their thing is probably the best thing we can do. There's, what I mean? So often we intervene, and when we could just, let them appear. And also just that, how I'm always amazed at how you come across a plant or you read about it or somebody says something to you, and then all of a sudden it just starts appearing in your life over and over and over again. So that, I don't know, you have that experience where like it somehow slips in there and then all of a sudden it's just like appearing everywhere.
I read about it and the next day somebody needs it. It's like, what?
Right. Exactly. Or you're walking down the street and you're like, wait a minute, there it is right over there growing.
Our plants intersect because you do see the Usnea growing in the big old oaks in different parts. Not in Minnesota so much, not even up here. Minnesota and Wisconsin, but yeah. So yeah. Well, thank you for those good questions. And yeah, so of course then this spills over into ecology. We don't want to hurt our Mother Earth. Like, one thing I remember agreeing with when I first heard about it. So I had that experience. Nature is alive, and everything we do to ourselves and to other people, and really to nature too, will all come back to us. So we don't want to hurt nature. And when I learned that the native approach was to not make any decision without asking Mother Nature's permission, I was like, yes, that's the right way to do it. And that is the whole problem with science, in my opinion, is it's out of control. They stopped asking nature for permission about, in the West, maybe 2,500 years ago or longer, or maybe less, at least 2,000 years ago. So yeah,
like mad scientists running amok. I don't know.
That's what it seems like. So, like, I remember in the 90s or 80s or whenever it was, when they first started doing gene splicing and everything, I'm like, no, don't you know this is what destroyed Atlantis? Like, oh my God, you're going to destroy the world again. Like, and now it's really, really it's really crazy. It's like science interfering with life. But I didn't know who to talk to about that because they didn't believe in Atlantis. So I remember I couldn't believe it. No. Whatever Atlantis was, that's how it was destroyed, they say. So, yeah. Our environmental concerns are great. Do you want to address that? Should we address that some here? Yeah. Oops, unmute.
I got it. Thanks. As I'm like trying to stop the noise from the airplanes flying above. I don't know if it's not too loud.
Yeah.
I mean, I think, the environmental degradation, the loss of biodiversity, I mean, all these things are really so catastrophic. I think for me, it's hard to, hard to put into words. I mean, certainly United Plant Savers is doing a lot more work in activism, and we're getting really involved in national coalitions at the moment that are really advocating to put a moratorium on cutting old growth forest in the United States. I think if we could, accomplish that would be huge. I really feel like deforestation is probably the biggest issue on a global scale that we could address. And so United Plant Savers is also a member of the IUCN, which is the largest and longest active global conservation organization. They're most known because they put out the Red List. So we were every 5 years, they do a conservation congress where people come from all the participating countries from around the world. And it happened in Marseille. So this all collaborates with the initiatives with the COP and trying to meet those initiatives. So there really is, I think a tremendous amount of momentum to try and change the trajectory So I certainly want to stay as hopeful as possible and sort of support all those initiatives that are taking place. And staying involved with United Plant Savers and supporting some of the initiatives that we're trying to bring awareness to. Yeah, I know. I'm trying to. Right. I know. So absolutely, Fairy Creek and all these invasive animals and species that are taking over wild areas. Yeah, I'm just looking at some of the comments, but absolutely. So it does seem like there's a big momentum for a lot of these environmental groups to kind of collaborate and sort of connect and kind of create momentum as one big voice. And so we're trying to join those national collaborations as best that we can.
Yeah, my friend Anne, who is Anne Walker, who's from Madison here, who's she's involved in a lot of ecological things. You had something you wanted to say, or
I did.
Yeah.
There's a petition that I was just sent today on email, and it's asking for people to sign to help save 3,500 acres in West Virginia. A lot of it is old growth forest, and they're looking for people to sign on and to support. So if that's something that I could send to you folks and to share with other people.
Yeah, absolutely. We work a lot in West Virginia. So I would love to know more about that. I know that we've really been helping all the people in North Carolina who are, trying to protect the pigsa from being logged. So yeah, I think there's just all these initiatives all over from a community level that are trying to bring awareness to these last remnant forests that we really want to protect.
The other thing that I really want to advocate for is our urban forests. And that's some place where, we have a lot of initiatives. We have a lot of cities saying that they need to get to 40% urban canopy. And yet most of those cities are also losing their canopy to development, to street reconstructions, to just simply not prioritizing that. Every city should be at 40% at least. And that's in every neighborhood, not just in some. So that's something that we can all try and make a difference.
Yeah, absolutely. Forest, trees, let them grow.
Yeah, I should point out that, a hidden resource of these old growth forests is the herbs. They are worth a considerable amount. And, there are still some Appalachian areas like the Pigsa or Pisgah or whatever it is, where they are trying to, preserve it partly due to it's a supply place for herbs that go into commerce then. And a lot of poor Appalachian people rely upon a certain amount of income from wild herb picking, which they maybe overdo. There's some species they pick out of to extinction almost. But so you guys have programs about that too, trying to educate for picking, but to preserve those resources, those wild forests are worth a lot. I remember a friend of mine describing how there was like 45 acres of clear-cut forest in Arkansas that he found that was just covered with ginseng and yellow lady slipper. Okay, so like we're talking about those things were worth way more than the trees they got off of that land. Yeah. So this kind of stuff. Yeah. So, and I do want to proudly say sometimes the only way you can save timber is by owning it. So I own 10 acres of old growth in upper Michigan, but that's mostly because it's on a mountain. You can't really cut on mountains very easily. And so, yeah.
Well, you're absolutely on point. United Plant Savers, that's really the kind of core of our mission and what we do as far as our sanctuary that's located in Rutland, Ohio. So we've really amped up our capacity to propagate forest botanicals. So we've got the property there is 360 acres and we've got quite a bit that's in forest and some really large populations of many of these high valued medicinal herbs, but we're also cultivating them in all different ways. Some just really naturally in the forest, others in areas under canopy, all different styles of propagation. And then we work with the Appalachian Beginning Forest Farmers Coalition, which is a USDA funded collaboration of a lot of different organizations and nonprofits. And we work with landowners, give them advice, evaluate their land, and support them in propagating these plants. So it's multifaceted. I was just on a property last week doing some rescue of plants where, just an incredibly beautiful forest that was being, cut for like 6 houses on like a 3-4 acre lot, but it was just like pristine. And I think that's like how do we bring that value into these decision-making processes? And I think, it's like land is just land, right? And there's no protocol for evaluating the biodiversity value or the when someone goes to get a permit to cut trees and the plant trade in the United States in general is very underground in a lot of regards. So it doesn't have the valued economic equation because it's really in some regards a secretive trade. And I know we've talked about this before. It's not just the medicinal herbs, but it's the other forest products that come out for the floral industry, for wreath making, for essential oils of conifers. I mean, it goes on and on. And when you add nuts, I mean, when you just start compounding all these forest products, it becomes way more valuable per acre than what you get from cutting the trees down. So it's, just bringing more consciousness to that, and something that I'm be on the lookout. One, we're advocating, we're trying to get Trillium out of large commercial harvesting. We've just done a big evaluation on all the different Trillium species. So we're really encouraging people to reformulate. And we're also encouraging that for Camelarium because it's so threatened at this point, and its habitat is diminishing significantly. And with the whole thing with white sage, we're really I would love to see, some of these online platforms where these plants are being sold to submit information so we know how much of these plants are really being sold online, so that we can advocate for better supply chain, so that we can maybe, if white sage is going to be sold, that it come from a cultivated source, right? I mean, the impact in the increase in just this one plant over the last 5 to 6 years being internationally in demand. When they did this video that, I encourage you to watch when it becomes more available, Saging the World, I was shocked to see how stripped the sage habitat in Mexico had been diminished by the recent demand and people just wanting these sage sticks. So it spans all different marketplaces, beauty products, not just herbal products. So anyways.
Yeah, that's one that should be banned for collecting in the wild, but grown on farms. I mean, because it grows places that just about nothing wants to grow, and you can grow it easily to,
yes.
I think to Portland, Oregon. So, I mean, anywhere where there's not bad frost, you can grow it. It only grows in this little teeny area. So anybody with a house, wants it as a house plant, it's certainly growable too. So, and I mean, you grow it in, I have lots of friends in Central California, Northern California. They just grow it in their garden. It doesn't grow, it doesn't expand.
Yeah.
Separate space, but there it is, it could provide lots. So, it's kind of like we need to restore the sense of ethic within human beings, I think, because people just keep on breaking the law and not appreciating things. Well, they don't even see it, a lot of 3 or 6 acres with the old growth forest on it like that with the original habitat intact. People don't realize how important that is. Like I got my little cabin and then 13 acres and in Wisconsin, and it's about 8 acres of woodland, and everybody says, "Oh, that was always forest." I could tell, no, this was not always forested, and like it was. And I found old photos. No, it was a chopped over pasture. You will never get those herbs. Most of those years back, and even I've even seen I hate to say it, but clear cut forest in that area, even that grows back the herbs better. But these areas that have been even where there's most of the native trees coming back and not new invaders, the herbs do not, I mean, the wildflowers, the native plants just don't come back for, maybe hundreds of years. I don't know, if at all. So, yeah. So that's how valuable these old growth forests are. And we wish everybody was this well educated, and they start educating people in nursery school or something. But of course, there's many other things that virtual right now. No, I don't want my kids to learn that there's about environmentalism. I don't know. So, well, we just got to try and improve the world as we can.
Yeah.
Yeah. And one thing. So when I wrote that book, extracellular matrix. That I did do that class with International Herb Symposium put on by UPS and Susan. When I wrote that book, you can't follow every rabbit hole. So the first person who read it said, "Oh, so the matrix is like the mycelium in the soil, except it's inside us." And I was like,
yeah, and you're like, ding.
And then I thought, oh my God, we got to get out and walk on bare ground in the grass much more often than we do. The mushrooms rubbing on our intestines, we do get nutrition we do get things from the mushrooms, but those beta glucans, they don't go into us. They just go through the intestine and they rub on the wall of the intestine and they send signals back and forth to the matrix, actually. So if you want, why you don't need to eat mushrooms to get that? Just walk around bare feet.
Right. Yeah.
You'll be on that mycelium, which is the plants and the fungus together. Yeah.
Yeah. You're going to have to, I guess you're going to have to do a next edition, or you're going to have to add a chapter, I think.
What I told everybody was I'd spent 10 years writing this, maybe it was 8 years. And I'm standing back and you guys got to expand on it.
Take it to the next level.
There's 100 ways you could expand on it. And every once in a while I'll run across something that's oh, I really wish I'd known about
the barefoot matrix. The barefoot.
Yeah, right. Yes, that's why. See, that's the green power. Well, that must be it. That even better to walk on the ground, but we're always constantly rubbing these leaves and getting them on us live or dead, and constantly feeling the bark and everything. So that's what's keeping us so young and fit. And yeah, we have a few more questions. Yeah. Let's see.
What advice would you give college students to help this cause? I'm currently studying at UC Berkeley and would love to start a student group or bring awareness to the school in general.
Well, United Plant Savers is a great organization, obviously, to be involved in. And one of the interesting programs that we have is a botanical sanctuary network. I mean, there's all kinds of ways to plug in, but anybody can apply to become a botanical sanctuary. And maybe there's a wild part of the campus on school that would like to apply to be a botanical sanctuary. There's all kinds. We have urban sanctuaries, we have homesteads, we have schools. There's no real qualification you have to meet. It's just the willingness, intention, and desire to nurture a botanical sanctuary. And there's just great ideas. I mean, the journal comes out every year. That's one of the other great things that United Plant Savers puts together. And we give small grants to people who are part of the Botanical Sanctuary Network to purchase plants or to do educational projects that enhance the botanical sanctuary. So you can also read about international botanical sanctuaries, and you could choose to adopt a botanical sanctuary and support them in some way. It's just a great way to kind of, network maybe in a more meaningful, tangible way to get involved with a botanical sanctuary near you, or to, start one on your own. So that's certainly one idea. I think there's this balance, right? Somebody asked, how do I be more involved with environmental issues, but not get really depressed about it, or not, so I feel like that's kind of one great thing about United Plant Savers is just to be really positive, and just the most simple action of, growing some of your own plants, growing some medicinal plants in a windowsill, or that are in your yard, or whatever your capacity is. And read some of the stories of other members and what they're doing. They're all so inspiring. And then, of course, there's just this whole network that we're slowly growing, just like the mycelium. I mean, 10 years ago, when I took the job at United Plant Savers, we were a membership of about 1,500. And now we're like a membership of around 5,000 with, an email network of 50,000. And so that's why I'm just always encouraging people to become members, encourage other people to become members, and just kind of, grow this network. I think a lot of people can feel isolated or lonely or maybe disconnected. Like you have these feelings, you're really, you love the natural world, but maybe, like building that network of other people that share that I think is always,
yeah, I would assume there's probably some student organizations already into that in Berkeley. Of course, the agricultural college is in Sacramento, not
Davis.
Yeah, and that really would be touching on these issues. And definitely the agricultural colleges need more input this way. It's like, what at the University of Minnesota, they studied wild rice for a long time. And then what did they do? They didn't ask permission of the most of the Native American wild ricers or any of the other wild rices. They just started spreading their seeds that they generated in the laboratory and stuff around in different lakes and stuff. And it was like really upset people. It's like, we didn't ask for this. And it's like, what are you doing? And like, you're not really part of the environment. We're living off this. So there's really a need to like this kind of arrogance of science. Like, and I kind of get the impression, with all these, GMOs and all sorts of artificial interferences with science and life. It's almost like there's all these scientists everywhere trained and they need to support themselves. So they're just generating all this work and doing all these new things of trying to alter the environment, the rainfall with chemtrails or whatever. And this and that. It's like, what? Like, and this and that, and all sorts of things you could do. It's like, how about restoring the environment and watching it and like really preserving what we have? That does not get enough. If all the funds that went into all these novel science things were used for really preserving what we have and studying it and knowing it and educating people in it, that would be wonderful. Well, we're a bit of a distance from that, but we labor in obscurity and nature is our friend still. So, yeah. Let's see. Yeah, I think trying to join some student organization sounds really good if that's possible. Yeah, we are nature. Yes, thank you. Yeah, that's one thing I learned about the matrix. Dr. Pissinger, who came up with understood the matrix, really put it on the map. He said people would ask him, well, how about the single cell floating in the ocean? What's its matrix? And he'd say, what's its regulatory system? And he'd say, it's the ocean. It's the environment. We're all regulated by our environment. We are regulated by our environment. We just don't realize it. We think that we have free will and stuff, and we're pretty darned regulated by our environment without,
Well, our menstrual cycle and the moon.
Yeah. So, any questions? Anything you guys want us to talk about more?
I can show them the UPS site and what's included in a membership. There's really a lot included in the membership. I know Susan has to go fairly soon. And so this information would really be best coming from her. Here's the beautiful site, first of all. And Susan also mentioned the International Herb Symposium. And so there's a link here to the film festival, but I believe it'll just lead to that site as well. And
you can still sign up for the International Herb Symposium. It'll go till the end of December, and there's, I don't know, gosh, it just keeps adding about 120 plus classes that are on the Teachable platform that you can watch at your own pace. And then in June we're going to launch, which should be really fun, the International Herb Symposium. The International Film Festival. So we've just had incredible films submitted that will be really fun to kind of share. We're trying to just open it up to different ways of telling these stories, and it's been really amazing the type of films that are being submitted for the film festival. We also have right now this Herbal Elders project happening. There's one Paul Strauss, herbalist next to United Plant Savers. That was a big part of UPS starting the sanctuary in Ohio. So we got some money from the Ohio Humanities Foundation to feature Paul as an herbal elder. And now we're going to feature 5 more herbal elders in the state of Ohio. So we're really excited about that program. We just went back to opening up our internship program after a little hiatus from COVID. And certainly we welcome people to come to the sanctuary and come see us. And we have a deep ecology artist residency program where people can apply to come and do their own personal exploration of their relationship with plants and nature, up to a 2-week stay that you can have at the sanctuary to create art in whatever form that means for you personally. And I will add this, really exciting is that we received Jim Duke's library and archives and notes. And so we're really busy putting that together and putting components of that online. And we recently received John Staba, who was a professor of pharmacology. He collected a rather large holistic library. And so we've just received that, and we're working on cataloging it and opening it up to the public and putting it online. So that's something that, that'll be the next class we do together, Matt, is us diving into some of our favorite rare books on herbal topics. Yeah. We share this like deep love of books and historical characters, and I just couldn't be thrilled that UPS is developing this library, because so often we just all like use the internet to gather information, but there's this wealth of information that is in these books that doesn't make it onto the internet, and we're losing these books just like we're losing these plants. So it's important to have these collections of libraries saved often, so anyways, it's kind of an exciting new chapter for United Plant Savers that we're going to create this really cool holistic library in Jim Duke archives, because he really, and I don't know, of course, super tragic. We lost Stephen Foster this year. Both of them, and we're just they were such bibliophiles and just had the incredible ability to process all this knowledge and information in regard to plants and information. And so, if UPS can in some way archive that and so people can come and experience and take that knowledge, like you say, to the next level in their own kind of wormhole or insight that they put together and want to share. So anyways, it's just, I think, a really an important.
Yeah.
Yeah, as you see, there's a ton included in the UPS membership. They are really delivering. So whether you go there and check out just information that's for free, just to be a plant lover, right? And what you do, there's everything.
Yeah, everything nothing is like protected because of membership, right? So everything is available on the site. Membership is just altruistic, and that you're supporting the work that we do. Over a third of our operating costs, come from our membership. So it's really important to sustaining the work and helping us grow. And so UPS is physically, the office is located in Rutland, Ohio. It was founded up in Vermont, where Sage Mountain is, and Emily Ruff has taken over Sage Mountain from Rosemary, and UPS moved its office to Rutland about 8 or 9 years ago.
Yeah, well before Emily took over there. Yeah. A natural process, because Paul Krause, one of our elders now, originally bought this land that was the herb gathering ground for that part of that county there so it was very rich in herbs, and he preserved that. And so keep your eye out, folks, for things you can preserve, or if you don't have the money, try to get other people interested in it. And do you guys sell plants at the Ohio
We
place?
do. Yeah. And we've got, we sell some seeds online. And we do a big, we sell roots in the fall. And if you come to the sanctuary, we do have a greenhouse and plants that we're propagating that we sell to people who come and visit. We don't, at this point, we don't ship plants per se. We just do a big, we allow people to do orders in the fall when we'll ship out roots, like golden seal. That's the one we mostly ship out in the fall. But we're expanding our capacity to propagate and sell more plants. So
definitely join their newsletter and follow on social media, because you'll learn about they'll have a special members only sale or special events. Susan does a beautiful job on the social media, so you get to see and see different things that are going on in different areas. And I think they just do an amazing job of just an amazing variety, just keeping you in the loop too. And plus there are member discounts, which I showed really briefly, but if you remember, there's a discount page. And so when you log in, it will take you to another page, and right in the middle, it'll say, here's where you can go to get the discounts. And there are many businesses that have offered some great discounts and perks for being, including the Matthew Wood Institute of Herbalism. There is a coupon code there for 20% off all products. And so members can go to their specific section and check that out.
Yeah, a lot of business members offer really great discounts to people who become members. So it's like the reciprocity of becoming a membership, comes back like tenfold, really, when you look at, if you're, lots of great discounts from all our different business members. So it's super nice.
So how many minutes do you think we have left of that coupon for free membership?
I know it'll go for the next couple of days, but
okay.
So it's working, right? Everybody, it's working now, right? I think
it sounds like it is. So April 2022, Alberta will put that link in there again, or that code is for UPS, United Plant Savers. You'll get a free membership with the code April 2022, and that will keep you in the loop of all sorts of things that are going on for plant saving.
Yeah, really inspiring how many people we got to show up on Earth Day. So really want to honor everybody for joining us in this conversation. It's really means a lot to me.
It's a day to celebrate, that's for sure.
I typed, someone asked a question. I didn't realize it would erase the question. I wanted to answer it just for the general public there, but yeah, about what books to read about nature is alive, et cetera, to continue with this. And I will mention my own books, 7 Herbs, Plants as Teachers in 1987, and then 7 Guideposts on the Spiritual Path, Shamanism in the Book of Genesis. That's 2021. And those are available, at least on Amazon or through our institute or whatever. Yeah, there we go. And so always that torch of nature is alive is at the back of everything that I write, but it's not blatantly stated always. So I think, okay. So people can feel free to add maybe other books on the chat that they feel are particularly good for there's 7 Herbs, and then we would have 7 Guideposts is somewhere or the other. We have to kind of handle that ourselves, distribute it, self-published.
Yeah, it'd be great if people put in books that they've read this year that have really inspired them as well.
Yeah.
The coupon won't apply to books, just to make sure that's extra clear. But we do have an Earth Day coupon for 20% off most products. It doesn't include the Herbs A to Z because it's already just $8 a month. And then the Family Herbalist program, which is starting here next week. You can join anytime because we record all classes. But we have an early bird special going on right now that's already 20% off. So those are the only 2 that are not included in the Earth Day discount. So just to be clear, there are 2 promotions offered here. One through United Plant Savers with the code April 2022, and that will get you a free United Plant Savers membership. And then we have a 20% off coupon at the Matthew Wood Institute of Herbalism through Monday, the 25th. And then
I saw there also our free Doctrine of Signatures class, which I don't do, but our student and practitioner, Lee Arnaldi, does that. And so it just is examining, what is it, one plant a month from the perspective of the Doctrine of Signatures, which to my mind is the wisdom of nature built into the living nature, how nature thinks, rather. And I put Lee in charge of this because she's better at this than I am, and I'm pretty darn good. I never feel like I understand an herb until I understand its signatures, like I described with the oak there. So there's a free class there, and we also do have a number of free classes on the wisdom of nature or the living nature that I've done over the years that just happen that are in the freebie. Just a lot of the time, just because they're little free things I did online or something like that. So organs and emotions, that class too just taught that would also be very much the mind-body connection, which really is nature, the emotions, the organs, that's nature, the emotions that correlate with them, and then sometimes the plants that correlate with the emotions and organs. So it shines out through many of these. But yeah, feel free to, in our Real Spirit journey, we're trying to emphasize the spiritual side of these sorts of things. And then just include books that you guys may know about, that you can in the chat there. For me, I go back, there's my book there. I go back to Jacob Beam and in the Renaissance, Paracelsus, complete writings of Paracelsus, selected writings of Paracelsus. So things like that, to me, have that nature is alive. What do you call that? The light of nature, to learn by the light of nature. So, yeah. And the mission statement, I'm quite sure, has that this is built into the mission.
Absolutely. Yeah. The living nature, Anima Mundi, or Natura Sophia, nature wisdom. Oh, you bet. It's woven throughout the curriculum at Matthew Wood Institute of Herbalism, of course.
Good.
Beautifully.
I at least want to get on because I'm going to be teaching. We should advertise that with Phyllis, another free class at 7:00 or in 45 minutes or whatever, or for 52 minutes. So I'm going to get moving and preserve my energy for that. And I think that is it. Correct me if I'm wrong. I'm not prepared, but it's herbal stories, right? Herbal storytelling.
Herb Stories is our next free class, Earth Day trio series. And that's with Matthew Wood and revered herbalist, Southern folk herbalist Phyllis D. Light.
Yep. Okie doke.
Thank you very much, Susan, for joining us. We're always pleased to support and work with you. And go sign up and get your free membership. That's an amazing deal.
Yeah. Thanks for having me. Tell Phyllis hello.
Hello. Have a great night.
Yeah, bye.
Bye, everybody. Thanks for joining us. If you are interested in learning more, you can visit our website at MatthewWoodInstituteofHerbalism.com. You can find all of our social links in the description below. Also, please subscribe to our channel so you can keep up with the latest videos.